All right, and we're also very excited to introduce our guest speaker on board today. Please allow me to introduce Sara Cheng. She is the former managing director of Twitter Greater China. So Sara is a multilingual global C-suite level executive with top-tier experience in Asia, Europe, and the US. She's also had past management and CEO experiences as the ex-CEO of Fuji Xerox Singapore, the former board member of Singapore International Chamber of Commerce, and she was also on the advisory board for the Women's Forum for Economy and Society Asia. So Sara is known for her unique leadership style and her ability to build diverse, high-performance teams throughout the span of her career. Sara is a catalyst of change who advocates for workplace diversity and the development of a next generation of Asian leaders. So welcome, Sabrina and Sara. And without further ado, I will now pass the floor to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sara, for joining us. And it's really a blessing to have you, because I know you have a flight to catch tonight. So we're able to catch you before you leave Singapore. And welcome, Sara. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. There will be a lot of gems of knowledge from Sara, so please stay tuned. So, Sara, we've known each other for a few years now, and I know you have such a global background, you know, born in Taiwan, having lived and worked in Asia, US, and Europe. How have all these experiences shaped who you are today?
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Sabrina. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic opportunity to be here. So, Sabrina, it's amazing to see how the sky has grown. I'm so proud of you, right? Last time we talked was your opening in like 2 or 3 years ago, right? So having 12 countries with all kind of people with backgrounds, different culture, different inspiration. Let's have a great discussion today. To start with my own background, I like to give you a 1 to 10 numbers, okay? So I am the first female CEO in Fuji Xerox, 75 years history. I have 2 MBA degrees, one from Taiwan, one from the US. I have worked and lived in 3 continents. I speak 4 languages. I lived and worked in 5 countries and for 6 multinational companies. Those are Procter & Gamble, Teradata, IBM, Xerox, Fuji Xerox, and lastly, Twitter. I worked out 7 days a week, and I spent 8 years in data analytics. So that is my core technical skills, core competence. I have cycled in 9 different countries, and I have managed 10 different markets in Asia Pacific, from Australia to Japan to Greater China to Thailand, Malaysia, India, Singapore. So, but that's a summary of my experience. And your question about how, you know, being exposed to different regions have shaped me. I would say that broadly, grew up in Taiwan. You know, we're taught in such a hardworking and disciplined way. And I also noticed that I was extremely competitive. You know, throughout until a few years ago, I became more Zen and Taoish. We can talk about that later. And when I was in the US, you know, my first job was Procter & Gamble and my MBA. I think I really enjoyed the freedom of thought. It's not right or wrong. It's the creativity, it's inspiration. You can really voice out what you're really thinking. And that is something I learned from the time in the US. And then I moved to Europe. At that time, I traveled around, you know, Holland, France, UK, Germany. Those are the places I provide the consulting services. I noticed that Europeans are very much different from the Americans in the way that, to me, they have more individualism, independent thinking, and the socialist environments in terms of people are more equal. You know, in the organization, the hierarchy is less obvious, and people are much more assertive, and people are looking for more of the gap between the top and the bottom is actually more narrow. right? In the US, the capitalism kind of have a very much big gap in terms of wealth and power. The European socialist countries have a lower, narrower, and that also affect people's thinking and the view of the world. With my second half of my career, I came back to Asia, and I managed, and I had the opportunity and luxury to travel throughout Asia. I was really struck by the deep, rich, and different cultures in every country. You know, the Philippines, India, Thailand, Malaysia, were so different. China, Japan, Korea, Australia were so different. So the experience of getting to know different people and see different people and understand the culture is in a business practice that was very, very enriching to me. As a result, I think hopefully that's how I see myself. I think I can relate to people from different backgrounds. I enjoy that. I know how people. I'm more empathetic. I think, you know, when I meet different people from different countries. The second part, how that influenced me, is the way I think. Right. I would always balance between the kind of East and the West, you know, Asian, European, American, different views. I enjoy that. So when I look at the issue, when I solve problems, I hope that I can and I leverage those different perspectives and learnings.
Wow, Sarah. So your global experience gives you the appreciation on diversity and inclusion in a sense, and have better understanding of differences in different people. That's really good. Yes, and Asia, Sarah, you mentioned you grew up in Asia, and me as well, and also Bianca, and so there's a lot of our audience, right? We are surrounded with a lot of strong and amazing cultural values that become a quintessential part of who we are. Which of these values have always stuck with you, and how have they helped you overcome any challenges, you know, including studying and working overseas?
There must be so much. I think what I notice about people, you know, we grew up in Asia, I think the tenacity is really amazing. I think for the people that grew up under the Confucius culture, you know, whether it's Hong Kong, China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, under the Confucius influence, I think we tend to be more introspect. We reflect more, and we listen. So we have more processing power and seek to understand, rather than more westernized culture. I think, you know, actually Australia, India is to me very similar to the West, right? Then the people are more assertive in voice their opinion, right? And there's not good or bad, but I think it's really finding the balance. What I like to really talk about here, with your great question, is really how my experience in breaking through the stereotypes of Asian or Asian female. Okay, so the first experience I like to share is, please take advantage of being different. In my first 15 years of career, I spent 10 years in US and 5 years in Europe, right? I was only dark hair, really, I mean, in a company, in meetings, only dark hair, Asian female. Right? I use that as an advantage. I stand out and people remember. The German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, even she said that when the men wear the same suits, blue suits for 3 days, nobody noticed that. When she wear the same dress for 2 days, people will make a comment, right? And I think that's great. My philosophy is wearing the red dress, the bright color dress every day. Make sure people notice you and use that, voice your opinion. Take that as your advantage, not disadvantage. The second part about how to break through the stereotype, be proud of who you are. When I first moved to the Netherlands, my first husband is Dutch, and I joined a company. First few weeks when I was in a company, people are talking about a new tea lady from China who dressed very well. In the village where we lived in, we're in a pretty high-end area. We had our own house as a young couple. My parents-in-law was in the same village. They heard that on this so-and-so street, there is a young couple and they have a Chinese maid. Now, you ask me, how do you feel about, when you were, people think you're a maid or you're a tea lady? I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I was so proud of myself. Why? Because I have broken through the expectations. I'm doing so much better than what people thought I could achieve, right? So when you are facing this kind of, sometimes you feel it's unfair or discrimination treatment, think big and think about that is a testament for your own capability. Okay. And I would say that we surprise people very often because we're petite, female, we look gentle, but our tenacity and our self-confidence will shine through and make that your advantage.
And Sara, have these values that you just shared with our audience contributed to making you the leader you are today?
As a leader, I noticed that when I coach and mentor people, and this is really generalization, so please do not hold me it's not absolute. I feel that my women underlings, my team members, ask me a lot about self-confidence. And guys don't ask as much, right? I think that we grew up, perhaps we don't have enough role models, female role models. In many countries, male or fathers are the one making decisions in the family, earning incomes. So, mothers are more in a caregiving role. So in the business world, in our career pursuit, when we're looking for role model, when we look for assurance or assertiveness, or how do you say no, we don't really have a lot of role models, right? And what I want to say is self-confidence is absolutely key for anything and anywhere you go and anything you do. And it is so important for us to build that level of self-confidence and to believe in ourselves. Let me just read you something because I love this quote. Okay, there are two quotes about self-confidence, so then we can move on, Sabrina. Self-confidence is the ability to trust oneself and one's capabilities of reaching a goal. It means feeling good about who you are despite external circumstances. So that's the quote and definition of self-confidence. And I want to share this one with you. Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. So take risk, have the confidence that you can overcome, you can make mistakes. It's confidence in our bodies, minds, and spirits that allows us to keep looking for new adventures. The last one is from Oprah Winfrey.
I love all these quotes. It's amazing. And Sara, just want to ask you, because the first quote really struck me because, we don't always feel confident. I'm sure I'm generally a confident person, but sometimes I do have self-doubt. I'm not sure about certain decisions I've made in business, in my life. So how can we build that inner confidence in ourselves? And also, you talk about trust as well. We need to trust ourselves, which we were not being taught, since young. And the society, the magazine, the media will tell you, don't trust yourself, trust someone else, for example. So how can we build that inner confidence, and how can we really trust ourselves, our capability that we can do it, we can reach our goal?
This is really tough question, Sabrina. One thing, let me just take an easy way, the easy part of the answer.
for self-confidence, every one of us will have time of doubt. They always time like this when you're in a new job, when you're in a new country, when you're in a new company, when you're not familiar, right? That's natural for all of us. So I think it's important that one is we keep a learning spirit. You find out as much as you can, you learn as much as you can about what you're not sure of, right? Because confidence is because lack of it, because your lack of the knowledge, right? And the comfort. So try to research and understand as much as possible. Okay? For example, before I took the job with Twitter, I never had a social media job. What I did, I went on Coursera, that online learning platform, and I took a class for digital marketing with a professor, that's offered by Stanford University. We have so much resource. So number one, you have to do your homework, research and learn as much as possible, okay, to increase your confidence level. Number two, it's always great to have friends and buddies, the people who you trust and who understand you and who will tell you as it is. So you can seek for advice. You say, I don't feel confident about this, and your friend might say, Sabrina, you're fantastic. You can do this and this and that. They give you the mirror. They give you the confidence, or they can help you. Right? Number three, I find that, and I wish I knew this when I was younger, really look for a mentor, looking for a coach, looking for a sponsor in your career. People who understand the lay of the land, understand the organization dynamics, have done something that you have not done, and who have the interest in your development, in your advancement. Seek for advice. And then seek for, number four, seek for feedback. You ask people how you're doing. 3 months in the job, don't wait for your new boss to come to talk to you. You go to him or her and say, hey, I've been here 3 months. I've done this. This is area I'm still learning, but I would really appreciate if you can give me your assessment to help me, to tell me what I do well. That's important. Not just look for something you have to improve, right? Tell me what I do well and tell me where I can do better. That feedback will help you, and you need to find people who will actually tell you what they think, not just superficially, oh, you're fantastic.
That's some great tips there. The audience will definitely find it super useful. And Sara, the next part of the questions, we're focusing more on your career, leadership. So Sara, climbing up the corporate ladder is, we all know, is no easy feat, even especially so in a traditionally male-dominated industry. How would you describe your experience on moving upwards in your career?
That's a great question, right? Well, I think firstly, I don't see being a female as a challenge. I never do, even though I notice I'm the only red dress in a sea of blue suits, right? Again, I see that as opportunity. Number two, we have to remember, performance is the baseline of your career. You have to deliver performance-wise, no matter who, right? So that is so important. But above and beyond that, above and beyond being good at what you do, my first 15 years, I was doing, more less significant roles and get up the organization. So from financial analysis to sales, to product marketing, to consulting, and then to services outsourcing. That I move around. I think if you are in your earliest stage of your career, besides doing a great job, there are three things I want to say that we can. It would actually actively propel your career development to distinguish you from others, right? One is what I just mentioned, dare to be different. And I'm not saying that talk on every chance you have. No, but you want to show that you have a point of view. We have to show that we are independent thinker, and we're not just quietly joining a meeting and then leave a meeting, right? So prepare for that meeting and make sure that you take advantage, not dominating the platform, But when there's a Q&A in the team meeting, I'm always prepared. So people say, Sabrina has an opinion. She listens, she think, and she has an opinion. That's very important. So dare to be different and use that as your advantage. 2 is about ask what you want. Don't wait for the next job change, or don't wait. Ask for what you want. Let me give you an example. When I was in sales, my company bought a new company called Teradata. Teradata was the grandfather of data analytics, big data. So at that time, it was very exciting. And I saw one presentation by 2 consultants from Teradata. And I said, this is so interesting. I really love to learn how data becomes a fundamental piece of decision-making for business. So I just went straight to the 2 consultants, and they're the 2 directors of the new division. And I said that, hey, my name is this. I'm very interested in what you just presented. I have this background, but I have not done anything in data analytics. If there's a chance opening, I would love to be considered. And I left them my email address. 8 months later, there was an opening. I got a job. Right? I had to learn like hell because I was jumping from sales to consulting, but my MBA background really helped me there. Make sure people know what you want. If you're in the local organization and you're interested in international assignment, make sure your boss knows, your HR knows. If you want to change, if you say you're in marketing, but you're interested in sales, let people know, right? And let people know that you're willing to make the investment to learn. Many of you are at an early stage of your career. There's so much to learn. You don't have to stick in one discipline. You can change and think about getting the different skills. Some people, I have met many people, they say that I don't want to be in sales. Like, why not? I don't like to convince people. I don't want to, force people to buy. That's not about sales, right? Sales is about how to take no. Do you know how many rejections you hear no from a customer? You have to overcome that. You need to understand people's business requirements. Then you can fulfill the needs. It's not cold sell. It's not hard sell. Keep your mind open, please. There's so much to learn, and ask for what you want, and make sure people know what you want. Number 3, I think the reason you are all here, you're already doing this. Be very intentional and conscious about building your personal brand. Okay. Bianca is always on time. When I ask Bianca to do something, she always delivers. Okay. Susan always have fantastic quality, right? Joyce always go beyond what I ask for. This is your personal brand. Your personal brand and your job performance will supersede you anywhere, right? So make sure that you're conscious about your public presence, prepare before your meetings, and deliver. Be reliable, be dependable, and be someone that people can trust. So these are the earlier stage career paths. Now, my last 15 years, I took on general management role. From IBM, I managed Asia Pacific Business Consulting Group, over 10 countries. And then with Xerox, I also managed the Asia Pacific jobs. And then Fuji Xerox, I was the CEO. I managed across all different disciplines. And Twitter, I was doing Greater China market. So in a way that when you're going to a next level of your, more senior positions, I have 3 suggestions too. The first is you have to I think what is key is when you are a leader, when you have a large team, your success is really depends on your ability to influence others' agenda. Okay, it's not just about direct line report anymore, it's your influence. So it is so important that you identify your influence circle, which is your own organization plus the peers, your Asia Pacific peers, your boss and your boss's boss. Okay. Your influence circle, people in marketing or people in HR, people in legal. These are all your partners. You need to build that. So when there's a decision, you can gain buy-in and gain support. Number two, make sure that you have a strong network. This is an informal network, both internal and external of the company. So you understand what's going on in the industry, and you have your own relationships outside of the company, and you can find out different soundbites through different organizations. And number three, as a senior leaders, I find this extremely useful. We must find a mentor. We must find a sponsor. We must find a coach at the different levels, right? When you're young, I would also say it's important. But when you're in the senior position, it is even more important that you have that someone you can go to that really give you the informal and invisible kind of network and information. Sorry, it's getting a very long answer.
No, it's so amazing, Sara. I really hope the audience is having their notebook, taking all the step-by-step guide and all the how-to tips. It's so useful. Thank you so much, Sara. Yes, and so Sara, along the way, what were the barriers you had to face as a woman in the industry you choose, and how were you able to break through them? Would some of the tips that you have shared help you break through those barriers?
Okay, so glass ceiling, we heard about that. Actually, I also heard bamboo ceilings. I would say that it is definitely there, but it's not everywhere. Okay, I have, through my career, I have been, I think, fortunate enough that I haven't really experienced that. If any, I think I broke a few ceilings. When I was in IBM, I was the only Asian female amongst 35 partners in a consulting organization. In Fuji Xerox, I was the first and only female CEO in a company's 75 years history. And when we look at career ceilings or obstacles, I think it's important to think about how to break through, right? So first of all, mentally, let's be very strong and assume it's not there. Because if you assume it's there, then you think about it, right? Again, please remember, the performance reputation takes you far. We have to deliver, we have to perform. And for the ceiling, so number one, mentally just assume it's not there. And if it's there, assume that you can break it. Now, there's a situation that you absolutely cannot break it. Let me just give you an example. When I was in Fuji Xerox, I was a CEO in a country. I was very realistic that there won't be any positions for me in the headquarters in Japan. Why? I don't even speak Japanese. You have to be realistic sometimes. It's not like discrimination. There are many factors why sometimes there's a ceiling, right? So we have to be realistic. And in time like that, then you say, okay, then this is a place I can only go this far, then I'll go somewhere else. It's perfectly fine. The market is big enough. Number two, if you look at the social trend, the government legal regulation trend, we are in very, very good place. In many countries in Europe and in America and even in Singapore, now there is a diversity target at the board level, right? So for the public trade companies, that the number of board members, that there is a target to say 20 or 35 or even 40% have to be female. This will absolutely trickle down. I have met many fantastic female leaders, CEOs. In my career, I have many great female bosses and coaches. I would say that today we're very lucky. The situation is changing very quickly. So you are all in a very good position that the diversity and the ceiling is open up for sure. Number three, Sabrina, you asked me about how do I find someone to help me navigate. Coming back, find a mentor. whether in the company, actually many companies encourage people to find a mentor. In IBM, at the time when I was there, if you're a director and above level, the company encourage you to look for a skip level, not a direct line report, but the skip level, other organization, more senior mentor. So he or she can help you navigate the career path and the quote unquote political map when you need to resolve cross-organization conflict. They are very, very important. Number 3 or 4, I forgot. I would say that participating in the external community like this, Half a Sky, other organizations, when you can find a buddy, when you can find people that you get along and you trust, and you can leverage and amplify each other's career development, that is very, very helpful to have the kind of emotional and intellectual support inside and outside the company.
Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah, so along your career journey, you've worked in multiple, international companies, very diverse, very different. And you've also managed not just multicultural, but also multi-generational workforce. So this diversity is absolutely essential in the workplace, but certainly some conflicts may arise among employees. How do you address these conflicts, and how do you bridge the gap between employees of different generations working in the same company?
This is such an excellent and very timely, very relevant question, especially in today's world, right? I would say there are generation gaps. Every generation, there are generation gaps. But I think the last 20 years, the gap between people who are born in different time has really significantly widened. Why? 2 reasons. One is the digitalization and internet. The information gets spread globally and so fast. Number 2, social media, right? That by a community or even consciously or unconsciously, we're influenced by social media. That shapes how we feel and how we see the world. So there are many generations, right? There are baby boomers and Generation X. Let me just generalize that. I want to share something with you about Generation Y, which is also the millennial. I think many of you today are in this segment. That's why I'm going to talk about it. So first of all, let's define this, right? Millennials are people who were born between 1980 to 1996. Today, you'll be between 21 to 40 years old, okay? And you have experienced a huge digital boom, globally economic boom, and you have also known about the huge impact from 9/11. Okay, so this is a generation. When I worked throughout my time, it's most obvious, the millennial generation to me has most obvious traits that's different from others. So again, excuse me for being generalized, right? Now, I will not say there's conflict, Sabrina. I think actually it's just subtle differences in expectations. However, it is there and you need to understand and you need to be able to provide and to optimize the workforce capabilities. So let me give you an example. In my opinion, in my experience, the millennial generations, number one, you have a very high digital IQ, computers, mobile, everything, and everything is online. And you can do multitasking. You can work on the chat and you can work on the documentation and you can play a game at the same time. That it's a very unique skill set. Millennials also tend to challenge the hierarchy and the status quo. You ask a lot of why. You are environmentally conscious and you have a deep sense of your own preference. Okay. You have a passion for learning. You're very curious and you're impatient for advancement. asking when can I get, the 6 months in a job and say, when can I get to my next job or get promoted? Now, in the organization as leaders, I think to understand this generation's expectation, let me just give you an example. The expectation is the company needs to be more transparent, and people ask to be treated in a very fair way, and request for open and early communication. They're motivated by understanding. So as a leader, you explain the context, the background more to motivate the millennial generations. So for example, if we were going through a reorganization, for the other generation, what I used to do was, reorganization is very strategic, very confidential. So you have, high-level people decide, and then you send an email and say, starting tomorrow or starting today, so-and-so will be doing this, and these two teams will be combined, and that team is going to transfer. Whatever it was, in the past, it was a email communication, and people accept that. For the millennials that we find is so important that in the preparation time, we actually build into communication plans. We build into whom to talk first, small group and the bigger group, and then the town hall. And in the time of planning the organization change, we involve HR in the very early stage. So HR is part of this, and think about how that would affect people. And then in the time of announcement, we have we also include a lot of rationale and background and make sure people can understand why. And after that, we have a change management process, and we have open channels for people who have more questions to ask, and we even provide coaching. Right? So in a way that is a different expectation that leaders, if we want to foster the team trust, that we want to maximize the team output, it is very important we understand the difference in expectations.
Yes, I agree with you. And Sara, in your experience as a leader, what makes you keep going in order to be where you are right now? And is there anyone you look up to for leadership inspiration?
What did keep me going? It's not that painful. It's actually a lot of fun, I think when I was younger, it was the career ladder that I, wanted to reach there and there and there. But once I reached the general management stage, I think I asked myself more about what am I learning? What do I get? What is actually two ways. What do I bring to the table, and what do I learn? And when I look for or explore new opportunities, I ask that questions. I wanted to be a CEO. That was a very conscious decision and pursuit, because I wanted the breadth. You have not just sales or marketing, you have HR, legal, you have to deal with unions, you need to think about M&A strategies. The job is so broad, and the impact to people are so, every decision I made, it has influence on people. So I really look for a CEO job, and I try to build up my own skills that I will be considered and qualified for that. And after being a CEO, I wanted to learn about social media, because social media being a very young industry, it's only 12, 15 years old. And it has such fundamental and deep impact on all of us. I wanted to know why and how. So I think the trigger for me is two things. One is a curiosity, is a growth of knowledge of my experience, and I want to learn. Two is, as I gain more and more influence, that I can influence more people. My passion is to grow more future Asian leaders. In the last 20 years, Asian, if you look at especially countries like China, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, these are double-digit growth region, India, right? Singapore, Hong Kong, these are all, high single-digit growth. We are growing so fast. Any multinational companies look for Asia as a growth engine. But our business grow, our people don't grow as fast. We don't have enough leaders, not managers. We need leaders. And I really feel deeply that our business requires more local leaders. Global platform demands more Asian leaders. So I'm really, really proud of people like Indra Nooy, the ex-Pepsi CEO. I admire Satya Nadella from Microsoft, the IBM CEO. There are some fantastic Asia leaders. I want to do whatever I can to contribute to that. So these are the two reasons that I find the energy and I find the passion to be here today, even.
That's so amazing. And Sarah, from what I hear, every step of your career, your vision becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And there are two things that I get from you as well. Number one is growth mindset. I think it doesn't matter when you just start out your career or you become the CEO of Fuji Syrup, which is, really top of your career. You were still having that growth mindset and extremely curious. You're curious about everything, different industries, the growth in different countries. And that's really amazing. And Sarah, from your position as a leader, what do you think is the best way to attract and foster diversity in the technology industry?
I think it's not just about companies attract talent. I think it's a whole social economic system that we need to provide the opportunity for little girls that can and want to learn more about science, about mathematics. We need to make sure that they can go to school and go home safe, in a safe way. And we ensure that both boys and girls can have the equal opportunity to advance to high school, to universities, and overseas education if they want. Right? A couple of years ago, I went to Bangladesh on a trip with Room to Read, and I visited many, like 5 local elementary schools, where some kids have to walk for 10 kilometers each way to go to school. So I think in many countries, we still have a lot of struggle, and we need to, the government, the society, and every one of us who can contribute to the way that do our part to help the little girls can actually come to look for a job in the technology industry. The second piece about industry, right? Again, from what I have seen, the multinationals and even some local companies have done fantastic advancement. In the company, it's very important that we look at the HR ecosystem, not just recruiting, not just hiring, because after you hire, you need to retain. So it's the ecosystem we need to look at. When I was a CEO, I spent a lot of time with my GM of HR. We look at how can we provide, from recruiting, actually not even recruiting, we will connect with you, Sabrina, your organization, to identify future pipelines even before we have a job opening, right? So you start to do the pipelining. And then in the interview, we ask for example, you can say, the final list, the short list, the three final candidates, one of them needs to be female. As a company, we can have these kind of guidelines. And then as promotion, we can say that, again, of the candidates, one of them needs to be female. Right? And we provide, we think about how to help. Actually, it's not just female, right? Guys, it's also, parental leaves, the kind of benefit programs that a company actually has the capacity, not just from the monetary perspective that you can afford, a longer time of maternity leave for both women and men, but also you have the kind of talent pipeline that when someone is off for a few months, your business can continue. And then you talk about career development, and that is a lot of coaching and understanding what people want to do and what is their inspiration and their skill set and where is the match with the company's direction. So I think that's a continuous generating talent pipeline and provide opportunities and encourage people to move around. If you want to be a general manager, you need to understand, sales, marketing, even HR, if there's a job for you to learn. Support, pre-sales support. So I think as an organization, we can provide, one is the ecosystem from an HR perspective, two is the skill training. And it's not just for women, but also for everyone, that people can move around and rotate and be much more holistic business professionals.
Thank you, Sarah. And now we come to our final part of our conversation. So Sarah, in your time in the tech industry, what were the most valuable lessons you've learned?
Okay, let me tell you a few stories. These are the most profound and impactful ones. The first one is Victoria. Victoria was my first boss in Procter & Gamble. And if you know, Procter is one of the most competitive and best training ground of American multinationals. And that was my first job. I was working so hard and I didn't feel that I was doing well as I can't just get that feeling. One day, Victoria was only 2 years older. So we have a very, very good formal, informal relationship and we trust each other. One day after we went to a meeting with 4 other people from other organizations, she said, Sarah, come to my office. Went to her office. Why didn't you say a single word in that meeting just now? And I said, well, you are there. You are my boss. So you will represent both of us from our department with other people, with other departments. My job is taking notes. So look, I took all the notes. This is the notes I take. And she said, no, Sarah, that's not what I want you to do. I want you to form your own opinion. I want you to have your own voice, and I want you to speak up, even if you do not agree with me. And that was the first time, a big aha moment for me, the expectation if we're doing our perfect job based upon the job description, that's still not good enough. We need to take extra initiatives. We need to formulate an opinion and we need to voice our opinion, right? So this point of view is absolutely critical, that we need to have that and we need to develop and we need to say it out. Right? So that's the first part. And that's, again, a little bit different between East and West. The Eastern culture, we don't ask questions, we take orders, but we need to take initiatives. The second learning I had is from another female boss, Linda. Linda was the first female director when I was in Teradata. So everyone was kind of looking up to her. And she looked, she's assertive, self-confident, polished, and everything. And one day when we were just having a drink, and I said, hey, Linda, how does that feel as a female director? You look so confident all the time. And she said that, okay, this is very important. If you are a director, if you want to be a director, you must speak and walk, behave as if you are the director, right? Because when you have that level of confidence, the aura just kind of spread, and then people see that. And then even though you're like, we talk about duck, right? Paddling very hard underneath the water, up there, on the surface, you're elegant, you're confident, you swim so well. It's important to have that presence to be at the level of seniority you want to be. And that's very useful. The third one is from my CEO of Xerox, who is a she, Ursula Burns, one of the very few Black female CEOs in Fortune 200 companies. Ursa told me that leadership is about being bold and being impatient. Yeah. So her energy of driving a company and taking risk is really something that I take to heart. The last one I want to share with you is actually from my partner. I've been working really hard, and I'm actually was a workaholic. If I'm not careful, I'm still one. I can still be one. But one day, my partner came to me and say, "You need to slow down. You need to spend time with me. You need to spend time, and when you are with me, you need to be more present." Okay. What I want to remind everyone is work is only work. We must pay attention to our life. We need to have appreciation of what we have in personal life, our family, your partner, your boyfriend, your dog, your kids, anything, yourself. Spend time with yourself, spend time with the part that doesn't demand deadline, and you would easily ignore them, right? So it's very important that we have priority in our family side or personal side, and we make commitment to spend time with them, or spend time with yourself. So those are I would say the lessons.
Very valuable lessons, Sara. And the final questions of today, what advice would you give to younger professionals who want to break into the technology, digital, or networking industry?
I talk about, dare to be different and ask what you want, and the importance of networking. The final, I'm a big believer of 3 points. So I give you 3 other points, right? One is keep your curiosity, keep your learning mindset. Life is a learning journey, and that is what propels your growth. The second part is when you are investing in your career, think about future-ready capabilities. It's not say, shall I learn about social media? Should I learn about psychology? You think about the capabilities, what you can learn from, especially now. There are so many resources online. You can do it ad hoc. You can do it at your own pace, right? Take some certain things you have never learned, or take something that give you certain skills. When you consider a job, think about what that job will give you. Is that a project management skills? Is that a influencing skills? Does that give you a better view of the organization? Think about that, and not just think about the job titles or the pay. I think about what kind of skills you actually learn, because over time, all this becomes your toolkit, and together, how you combine, how you leverage each other and exercise the power of all of that is what makes you a successful business operator. Number 3 is about develop your leadership brand, build your personal brand, and build your own confidence, because that is something nobody can take away, and that will propel you in your future career.
Wow, thank you so much, Sara. And we are slightly overrun, but we're going to move on to our Q&A. We actually received several questions from our audience, which are amazing questions. So I'm going to keep Sara here a little bit longer to answer all the questions from the audience. So Sara, question number 1, from the audience, how do you ensure there is work-life balance while fulfilling work and family roles?
I must say that I was horrible at it when I was younger. My first marriage didn't last because both of us were so ambitious and competitive, and we put all our energy in our jobs, and that didn't work out very well. So learning, I believe it is so important for life work balance. 3 words for you to consider. 1 is priority, 2 is boundary, 3 is commitment. Priority is whatever, you need to decide what is important to you, both from work perspective and personal perspective. And that when I say personal, that's family and yourself. So don't forget about yourself, right? And you need to decide. So for example, I have decided that it is important that I exercise every day, no matter where I am, no matter how long, even 20 minutes. I mean, it has to be more than 20 minutes. So what I did was I set that as a priority. Then I put that into my daily schedule. I exercise every morning before I start working, because once I start working, the whole day disappears. When I was traveling, which I did a lot, I would take the time between the last meeting and dinner, because dinner normally is a dinner meeting. So I take that between 5:30 to 6:30 time, I will go to the gym in the hotel. And then I get ready. And people go out for a drink, I skip that. I go back to the hotel and do my exercise. So that's a priority you have to set what's important to you. And then once you set that priority, you need to have the boundary. Boundary is the boundary when I say 5:30 to 6:30, nobody touches that. I'm not gonna give that away. You need to have that boundary. Time with your kids, that's your boundary, right? You don't give that away. Every week you have a date with your partner, you go out for lunch or dinner or whatever, and that is a boundary you set. Number 3, commitment. You have to commit to it, right? So work-life balance is not just a concept, it's how you do it every day. My commitment when I was the CEO, that was the most stressful job, I would say. My commitment to my family was that every day I will come home for dinner, except for when there's a regional dinner meetings. And every night we have dinner at 7:30. Okay. And once a week, I have a lunch date with my husband. So we will go somewhere for lunch. Right. So, and every morning we exercise together. Every morning. I told you I exercise 7 days a week. We cycle every morning unless it's raining. So prioritize what's important for you from work and for family, for yourself, and set out the boundary very clearly and commit to yourself in doing so. For work, I think we also need to think about that. Be smart, work smarter, not longer. Yeah, and then dare to say no. Certain thing you have to prioritize. Prioritize doesn't mean you prioritize 1 to 20, you do all 20 of them. It means that, number 12 to 20, you actually don't do, and you have to say, no, it's too much, I cannot do it, or somebody else can do it better. You need to say that on both sides.
Thank you, Sarah. And question number 2, how do we break into the network that promotes within?
I love that question. Networking, even for me, was not that easy. You kind of feel like, I have to approach strangers and I have to, make small talk, and it was hard. But actually, the best time to network is now, is when you don't need one, or when you need one, it's good to start. What I do is internal networking is, for example, I can imagine there are company events. There are, big boss visiting, you have town hall, or you have drinks, everybody goes, or even you go out with your team, or you travel to the headquarters and meet people, right? What internal and external, I follow the same principle. So for example, when I was as a consulting partner of the consulting, and we had a lot of consultant events and all that across countries, what I gave myself is a target. Every time I would say that I want to meet 3 people that I didn't know. When you have an objective or target like that, it becomes a task you can do rather than standing at a corner and drink with a glass of wine and standing there and feeling uncomfortable and unmotivated to do anything. So you just find 3 people
that you didn't know, exchange business card and know their name, know what they do. And if you like them, the person, you talk more. If not, you achieve your goal. In that way, I find networking become less painful. But later on, I tell you, the last 3 jobs, the biggest job I had in my life, they're all coming from networking. It didn't come from, sorry, Sabrina, headhunters. But that's what is important, the power of network. Now, internally, I would also encourage you to identify someone. If you relate to the person, you just go there. So for example, if her name is Sabrina, or John, it doesn't have to be female. A man can be fantastic sponsors. So that, John, what I find you talk about the diversity was really inspiring. I'm in this organization, I'm doing this, and I would love to develop my career as far as I can within the company. Would you be willing to be my coach? Most people, when you ask, will be very flattered, right? In IBM, if you approach someone, I don't know anyone would say no. Right? So it's important, if you want to develop that kind of network, you ask. Other ways, just you reach out to people that you have a like mind and you enjoy time together, and you can be open and honest with each other to help each other, give each other feedback and help each other solve business issues or people issues.
Sarah, you're absolutely right. You don't ask, you don't get, right? So the final question from the audience is, what is the key element to create a meaningful mentor and mentee relationship?
Trust, number one. You need to feel that you can trust the person. I mean, trust in a way that not just the confidentiality trust. No, I'm talking about the trust of the respect and the trust of, each one, both of you will be very open. Mentor and coaching should be one of the most honest relationships. And it's not easy to be honest sometimes, because you're saying, well, you didn't actually do a great job there or something, right? I think it's the trust that both sides can be absolutely honest and do not take the negative feedback as a personal, and believe that it's a mutual learning journey. On top of that, of course, depends on what you want out of this mentor relationship. If it is more about navigating people issues, then hopefully your mentor is someone that, good at that. And if you're talking more about certain enhancement of your skill sets in product marketing, product management, then you find someone who has that kind of knowledge base to help you, to support you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for all the amazing insights, valuable knowledge, and thought leadership. So I think, today, that's it for today. And Bianca, I'll pass the mic back to you.
Thank you, Sabrina. And thank you as well to Sara. It was honestly an incredible conversation. I'm sure that we all learned so much. And I want to thank everyone for being here today. Big thank you, especially to Sara, who was our fantastic guest speaker. We learned a lot from you today, a lot of gems to take home with us and into the future. And now, everyone, please don't forget, the diversity employers on our platform are still hiring, and they are still committed to empowering women to thrive in their own organizations. So like I said, they provide flexible working arrangements, equal pay initiatives, return to work policies, leadership development programs, and many more. And their jobs are listed on our platform. So please check them out. We also have a lot of resources to share with you on our platform. Make sure you sign up on halfaskyAsia.com. It's completely free. And you'll also be receiving exclusive event invites just like this one, job alerts, thought leadership content, and many resources. So again, this is completely free. And don't forget as well to give us a follow on our social media, which you can access through the QR codes that are up on the screen. So our next event will be coming up next month, and this will be a CV workshop with Cisco. So details on this will be up very soon. So just please stay tuned to our platform, and we will definitely have more events coming up in November and December, and we will put all the details on our events page very soon. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you, Sara. Thank you, Sabrina. It was an amazing discussion today. And see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Stay safe,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.